Welcome back, guys, to Reparenting Daily, another episode. Today we're talking about narcissistic parents, and we're talking about the effect that they have on you in terms of your ability to establish yourself as your own independent self, your ability to establish your identity, to build your self-esteem, to build your confidence, and to own yourself as a person. And so, if you're going through this battle when you're dealing with narcissistic parents and trying to break away from them, especially this episode is for people who have two narcissistic parents, so a narcissistic mother and father, right? This episode is for both. Doesn't mean that you can't listen if you only have one narcissistic parent, but from my own personal experience, I want to speak to those who are going through this battle. You see, narcissistic parents, emotionally immature parents, by Lindsay Gibson, if you are familiar with her work. What we understand is that narcissistic parents do not view us as our own individuals. They view us as extensions of themselves. They view us as validations of their own self-worth by our ability to succeed or achieve whatever that they feel is justification to signal to others that they are a good parent. It's pathetic, to be honest with you. You know, if your parents were not there for you and they did not support you through your life, if they did not see who you are, if they did not cherish your identity, if they did not respond to your emotional needs, there are chances you might be dealing with a narcissistic parent or parents. And so today I want to talk about the invisibility that comes as a result of being raised by narcissistic parents, people who don't see you. The consequences of that. You know, if you are raised in an environment where your first experiences with love, connection, bonding to other human beings is with two narcissists. So your mother is a narcissist and your father is a narcissist. That is going to destroy you in so many ways as an adult. Not destroy as in you can never recover, but do enough damage that you have to do really serious work, once you're out on your own. Parents who are narcissistic, emotionally immature, they don't have the ability to see you for who you are. They don't have the ability to respect your identity. They don't have the ability to respect you as a person. And there are many reasons why this might be the case. But let's just come back to ourselves. So we're not going to spend time on this video going into, the characteristics of a narcissistic mother or father. We'll do that in another episode. Today, I want to talk about the effects on you and the invisibility that comes from being raised by a narcissistic parent or narcissistic parents. When you are not reflected back by your caregivers, the people who brought you into this world, what that means, in all real terms, is that you have not been seen, you have not been witnessed, you have not been honored in who you truly are. And that has significant side effects. The first being that if you are raised by a narcissistic mother and father, and if you happen to have no grandparents, no siblings, if you were abused to the point that you were not allowed to make friends, not allowed to date, not allowed to connect with others, and build those relationships, then you're going to understand what I'm talking about. What I want to emphasize here is that when your parents do not reflect back your emotions to you, you lose access to your joy. When your parents do not reflect back your emotions to you, you lose your original thoughts, your original identity, your desires, your needs. Because the thing is that narcissistic parents try to program you into this reality where you have to stay in this box defined by them, because this definition of this box is what they need to support their grandiose self-image. All right. And so when we're trying to recover from this, we need to be able to come back to ourselves. That means being able to sit with yourself alone in quiet and silence, without distractions, without TV, without music, without podcasts, without video games, without whatever it is you use to distract yourself, going to gym. You have to take a step back. You have to really take some time to examine your thoughts, your emotions, and you have to spend a lot of time turning over how you actually feel. And the most important part that is so painful, and I'm having this theory that, the mother wound is more painful than the father wound. maybe that's only the case if you have both a mother wound and father wound. So if you don't have a father wound but you have a mother wound, maybe it's balancing out a bit. But if you have a mother wound, it's so heavy, because the mother wound is basically your right to exist. You understand what I'm saying? Your right to be on earth, your right to breathe, your right to be happy and to smile and to find your joy. The mother wound is so deep that I think that many people try not to look at it. What I've noticed is I've gone to more support groups, listened to other podcasts with interviews, people sharing their story. Something that I've noticed that recurring over and over and over, and I'm still trying to analyze it, but trying not to stay stuck in the intellectualization, is that many people who are on these podcasts, these healing podcasts, they come on and they talk about their adult or their childhood experience, and they are gaslighting themselves on the freaking podcast and the interviews, and they are saying, "Oh, we had a great childhood, a good childhood. Oh, but my father was, drunk and a workaholic, and oh, my mother, by the way, she was addicted to the Quaaludes or what the fuck ever that was in the 60s." And so it's like, and then they still saying that they have a good relationship with their parent. So, basically what I'm trying to say is that so many people are so delusional, they are lying to themselves. And delusion is not a bad thing, you just have to be aware of how you are using it. Delusional self-confidence can get you farther than you might realize. And I've seen that over and over as I have more discussions with other people who have achieved different milestones or advanced to different stages in their life, achieved different goals. But when you are raised by a narcissistic parent that you are not seen, that creates your invisibility. And your invisibility is what prevents you from moving forward, from making progress in your own dreams, because you don't have your own confirmed self-identity. Your parents are supposed to reflect back to you who you are, what you believe, what you value, the things that are important for you emotionally. And when they don't do that, you have difficulty to understand your authentic emotional expression. The things that bring you joy, the things that make you angry. These are dialogues that should be ongoing throughout our childhoods, and when they're not, there are some serious consequences that we must consider. And so if you're listening to this today, and if you're in the process of reclaiming yourself from the invisibility cast by your narcissistic parents, something that you're likely dealing with is guilt. The guilt of finally standing up for yourself, the guilt of saying no, the guilt of recognizing yourself as your own independent human being who has needs and rights and wants and desires and dreams. And so this is such a painful process, and you must not doubt yourself. You must find a way to maintain the faith in your belief, to reinforce your self-trust, and to understand what you have been through, and to understand that it is not fair, and it is not just, and it is not correct, it is not acceptable, it is not your responsibility to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And so today I want to remind you of that. Remind you that you have the right to become visible. You have the right to be seen. You don't have to remain invisible your whole life. You can express your wants, your needs, your desires, your beliefs. It's almost critical that you do that. And so I just want to share this message with you because the past few months have been quite difficult for me in terms of getting to the emotional level. I spent the past 4 years doing a lot of research and reading. I have an excellent, outstanding understanding of all the psychological concepts and all of the things that have happened in my past and how they affect me. And now I'm getting to this emotional layer, and I just want to share this message to remind you that if you are going through that emotional pain and that self-doubt of, did this really happen? If you're asking yourself that question, it did happen. So don't even People who are raised in healthy households and families, they are not reflecting on these questions. If you have a doubt, there's something there. Perhaps it's hidden in the subconscious, pressed away, suppressed, repressed, whatever. But there's something there. There's a there, and you owe it to yourself to give yourself the happiness. You owe it to yourself to make yourself seen, to make yourself visible, to refuse to remain invisible. And so today, I just want to take some time to remind you of that. To take some time for yourself, to honor yourself and your truth, no matter how scary that might seem at times. You have the right to own your own truth. Alright, peace guys. Thanks for being here. Go ahead and subscribe. Give me some comments, on the video to let me know how you feel about this conversation. If you have any thoughts or questions or feelings that come up during this discussion, go ahead and let me know. Follow me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. I appreciate your time. And take care of yourself and be well.